Were you disappointed and or surprised by the outcome of the recent Canadian election?
Very, very disappointed.
It didn't go the way I wanted, but I've accepted it.
The Liberals have ruled for 10 years, but I'm not sure there's any indices in the Canadian economy that has witnessed any form of considerable growth.
We're talking about an economy that last year had a $60 billion deficit. Mark Carney is projected to put on another $130 billion. This money the government is giving you is watering down the value of the money you have in your bank account, in the sense that your dollar does not go that far anymore. We have the second highest landmass on earth, yet we're struggling to build housing. When I say this, oh, he's an immigrant, how can he be saying this? You cannot put 200 people in a space meant for 10 people.
The immigrants you are fighting, bending over backwards to accommodate, they have a plan B. They can enter a plane and go to a location that they can readjust to life quickly to.
What would make a liberal or somebody who wanted the liberals to win, what do you think they were happy about? What were those policies that they loved?
Liberals ran on the campaign. They were trying to look for every means and every way to pit the conservative guy as a Trump-loving guy.
The Liberals have a way of selling pipe dreams. Listen, we make things good. Everything will be fine. How will it be fine? Don't worry about it. We'll sort it out. Just know that it will be fine.
You see this thing called social services. So you can imagine someone who is way dependent on benefits is hearing that they're going to cut taxes.
This money is money the government is taking from other people to redistribute.
So do you think that someone who bought a house in Ontario for 600 or 700,000, and the house is now 1.4 million, wants the conservatives to come in? A major thing that a lot of people will not open their mouth to say is value of houses. Nobody wants the value of their house to drop. So hell no.
Chibak, I suspect you also lean conservative.
Absolutely.
Like, so we have three conservatives here on this call. And were you disappointed and or surprised by the outcome of the recent Canadian election?
Absolutely, I was disappointed. Very, very disappointed. Because but again, I am also careful because politics is such a strange game. Sometimes, as much as we fail to admit that 1 + 1 in politics is never 2, it could be anything. So, and sometimes if you stand rigidly at the point, you may look ridiculous when it's evaluated from another perspective. That is not to say that you do not have values you hold firmly, but that is to say that you should give room for what I call malleability in your opinions and your viewpoints on things. But here's why I am disappointed in the elections. I am disappointed because when the report card of a teacher is published and after 10 years, that teacher has been doing dismally, has been performing very dismally on major indices of evaluation, that teacher does not deserve to be given a class to teach again. This is fundamental. That's the way I understand it. The Liberals have ruled for 10 years, and in that 10 years, I don't know. I want to be careful not to make absolute statements, but I am not sure there's any indices in the Canadian economy that has witnessed any form of considerable growth in the last 10 years. So, on the basis of that, I do not understand why you want to reward them with another 4 years, a minimum of another 4 years in power, making them 14 years. So that's where I'm disappointed. But then this election made me understand furthermore the power of the media and the power of manipulating emotions. Because if you're able to manipulate emotions, eventually you will get people to do what you want them to do without making them feel like they relinquished any power to you. I used to tell Emeka, I said, one of the things I've come to realize in life is, for us, most times we apply logic. We first of all judge, we first of all emote. We have made our decision in our emotions. What we are doing with logic is to find the logic that justifies what we have already emotionally accepted or justified. So for us, logic justifies what our emotions has already decided. That's one thing that I have noticed about human beings. That's why people will tell you, you can go to all the schools in this world, but someone who knows how to manage human relationships, human interactions will always go further in life. Because if I like someone in an interview, I will find a way to employ them, no matter how much your qualifications are. And so I would say congrats to Kani and the liberals. They played the game. I think the conservatives felt that common sense would prevail. And ironically, that happened to be the cornerstone of the conservative campaign, common sense. Unfortunately, they forgot that with humans, it's not about common sense, it's about emotion.
Too much feedback for that. I have a question I'd like to hear from everyone. I would like to get an answer from everyone. And this question, I don't know if you can hear me clearly, hopefully.
Yeah,
okay. We're on this call now. I'm speaking to 3 conservatives. So it means that you all, we see is laughing, you all did.
Well, let me clarify something. I'm conservative leaning in Canada. I'm not a member of the Conservative Party.
Okay.
The last election, I supported the Conservative Party. I'm conservative leaning right now. Doesn't mean that I can't still, if the liberals come in and they put in policies that resonates with me, that I agree with, yes, I can decide to go liberal. And depending on, again, who is representing Halaput to that party. So let me clarify that before someone watches and say, member of the Conservatives. I'm not a member of the Conservative Party, of the United Conservative Party. What's the name? Conservative Party of Canada, sorry.
Yeah, whatever. It's the same.
Yeah. Is almost very similar to the question that I was coining. The 3 of you have similar views, and of course, we're disappointed with the outcome. You would have preferred the direction, the country to move in a different direction, but more people chose otherwise. Now, you would, if I come now and ask you a question, okay, why do you think the policies of the liberals, you don't subscribe to it? You tell me, okay, I don't like this because of this, which is fair. Great, I understand. But people went out and voted for the liberals. People, their policy. People support the government, despite the fact or figures, or despite the situation of things. There are people who were very excited, immigrants, citizens, natives, non-immigrants, to look at and dissect and maybe let us know what would make a liberal or somebody who wanted the liberals to win. What do you think they were happy about? What were those policies that they loved? Yeah, Chibak, I don't know who raised their hands first. We need to go back and check VAR. VAR, I don't know to decide. Emeka, who raised the hand first?
I wasn't even, I think both of them raised it at the same time.
I'll be quick on this. I just wanted to make
I don't know if you got my question.
I got your question, but you were breaking though, but I got your question. Let me put it this way. I know you and I have discussed before. Canada is a very, very, very unique society. You see, a lot of times, if you haven't stayed in the US before, and you haven't stayed in Canada, you look at you from outside, you look at both countries, you say, they are similar, We both speak English, same mindset, same. But if you stay in the US for a while and you stay in Canada for a while, you see the difference that there's a difference in terms of mindset, in terms of attitude, in terms of belief, a lot of things. Now, the Canadian when you ask a Canadian, what is the Canadian culture? What makes you Canadian? It's I'm telling you the truth, it's not funny. There is no resonating Canadian culture all over, Canada. You say, oh, this is it, or like when you talk to Americans, you say, Americans believe in something called the American dream, that whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you are from, you can always make it. But in Canada, the culture or the dream is, or the culture here is, we are not Americans. That's the identity of Canada. We are not Americans. So this is how it is. Canada looks at America, especially, don't let me say all of Canada, but especially towards Eastern Canada and Atlantic Canada. They look at the US and to them, they think that the Americans are stupid people. Like they're the most stupid people they've ever seen. That to them, they are smarter than the Americans. They are much more polite than the Americans. The world likes them more than the Americans. So they take pride in that. They look at the Americans on the other side of the border and look at them as very, very stupid people. So, for example, to them, they are like, how do you even ever vote a guy like Trump to be your president? Like, how are you guys this deluded? That's to Canadians, especially in the eastern part of Canada, when you talk to a lot of them. So, for them, with the whole tariff war coming and everything, with Trump now making that rhetoric of 51st states, it was like, nothing will make how I put it, that will never happen. Canada cannot become 51st state and everything. I don't know if there's merits to whatever that 51st state comment is, if it's going to be ever possible and everything. But for the fact that Canadians heard that, and it was easy, the Liberals ran on the campaign they were trying to look for every means and every way to pit the conservative guy as a Trump loving guy, or as a guy who is taking after Trump's footsteps. So and definitely the conservatives have some similar policies to the Republicans in terms of reducing of social services, so anytime he comes out to make any of those rhetorics to say we're going to be cutting this, we're going to be defunding this, immediately they are trying to link him to Trump, say, oh, can you hear? Trump's style of government, he's in allegiance with Trump. This is a guy who will hand Canada over to Trump to become the 51st state and everything. So based on that rhetoric alone, a lot of Canadians who, you still know that you're still paying high taxes. Probably the house that you're living is affordable, or your kid is still in your basement, who can afford a house. But the first thing in your mind is, we need to show Trump. We need to teach Trump a lesson to let him know that this place will never become the 51st state. So that's the first rhetoric on their mind, why a lot of them decided to lean liberal. Then another thing about Canadians is this. You see this thing called social services. Don't underestimate it. And that's why I say that there's a difference when you stay in the US and you stay in Canada, and also when you live in Eastern Canada and you live in Western Canada. You see this thing called social services, childcare benefits, disability benefits, one other benefit, this benefit. Some people, it is a big deal to some people. So when some people realize that, look, some of these benefits might likely go, the conservatives are promising that, look, we would cut taxes seriously for people, for blah, 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 blah. But the truth is, the people that they're going to cut taxes for are for people like you, me, Shibai, Konkupiza. Some of these people on benefits, it's not going to impact them. Why? Some of them do not work. So you can imagine someone who is way dependent on benefits is hearing that they're going to cut taxes for you. I'm happy about that, because I'm going to take more of my money home. But the guy knows that, look, these taxes they are going to cut for these guys is going to affect me seriously, because my benefits is going to be cut seriously. So hell no, that ain't going to happen. Then another thing again, I categorize it when I spoke to some people. A lot of people don't want to say this loud or don't want to say it, but when you speak to people deeply, there are people that were seriously concerned. You see, if you're a homeowner, let me put it, you're always in a conflict when you're a homeowner. You want value of homes to increase. Yes or no? Yes, because if you're a homeowner and the value of your house increases, you can go to the bank. For example, I bought a house for 400,000. My house was worth 400,000, but now my house is now worth 650,000. There's a 250,000 increase in value of my house. Plus, maybe I have paid off maybe 100,000 of my mortgage on that house, remaining 300,000. So I have a 350 home equity line of credit right now sitting in the bank. If I go to the bank to approach them, who would not like that? But who will hear that? Because of the value increase in the value of your house. And why is the value of your house increasing? Because there are not enough houses for people. So housing is a scarce commodity right now. And the scarcer commodity is the more valuable it is. Now, a government is coming into place and saying that, look, we have a lot of young people coming into the workforce, a lot of young people who want to start their lives. We are going to ensure that, look, we increase building of houses to ensure that price of houses come down. What does that mean to you who owns the house? It means the value of your house will likely drop. So that house that they evaluate that is being valued at 600,000, that house, by the time maybe this guy comes into government, that house might be valued now maybe at 500,000 because there are a lot of houses in the market right now. It's not a scarce commodity again. And I'm thinking of that, and I have 3 houses right now. One is valued at 600, one is valued at 700, one is on alone. I'm sitting on home equity line of credit of like 700,000. One guy will now come in and with his policies, that thing will drop to 300,000. It will not happen. Sorry to the next generation who want to own houses. You will struggle and God help you. But everybody right now is after his or her own selfish interest. So when I spoke to sending people, someone actually at work when we spoke, he broke it down to me. He said, do you think that someone who bought a house in Ontario for 600 or 700,000 and the house is now 1.4 million wants the conservatives to come in? He said it's not going to happen. He said you can't find out. That is why the young people were the ones clamoring and voting conservatives, while the older ones were all voting liberals. He said a major thing that a lot of people will not open their mouth to say it's a hidden truth or it's a hidden secret is value of houses. Nobody wants the value of their house to drop. So sorry, if there's any other way you can do it, I don't know how you can speed up building of houses so that will preserve the value of houses. But this policy that this guy is proposing, that this guy has been shouting about that is going to do, is going to drop value of houses. So hell no.
Thanks, Busi, for that. From what you said, 2 things I could pick up. First one is you feel like, or you're stating the obvious, that emotions played a role in these elections, and the main person in that equation is Donald Trump and all that he said. If he was not involved in the elections, it may have gone a certain route, because I remember we having this conversation 4 months ago, and you could have bet, and you guys could have bet that you knew where this thing was headed until he dabbled into it. So, Chibike, thank you so much, Busi. So, Chibike, please go ahead. Thank you.
I think Busi covered the 2 points. I think the 2 key things that changed the complexion of this election was a lot of people were voting against Trump, not necessarily for McCartney. That's one. Socialism, especially to those who benefit from it, is such a potent drug that it's difficult to win people from it. Conservatives, unfortunately for them, have had to bear the burden of revealing the reality to people. It's always been a case of, if you want to make bread, we have to pound the floor. There's no way around it. You can't, like, if you want guacamole, then you have to grind avocado pear. Now, something has to go through a process for the end result you want to come out. And that is what conservatives have always it has been the albatross that have always hung on their necks. The liberals have a way of selling pipe dreams. Listen, we make things good. Everything will be fine. How will it be fine? Don't worry about it. We'll sort it out. Just know that it will be fine. And people sometimes don't want to be bothered with that kind of naked truth. Well, if he said it will be fine, then it will be fine. Why am I breaking my head? Right? And then a lot of us do the ostrich reaction to when there is danger. They bury their head in the sand, thinking that once their head is buried, the rest of their body is buried. But unfortunately, that is not reality. So the fact that the conservatives are telling a lot of people what they don't want to hear, combined with the wave of nationalism against Trump, which ultimately aligned with the liberals. And also, let's not forget the power of mainstream media that was clearly against the conservatives, because the conservative guy had come out earlier and said, I will defund the CBC, and the CBC is the source of manipulation and propaganda, the biggest source of manipulation and propaganda in Canada. And they were being heavily subsidized by the liberal government. So when they heard that their jobs were literally on the line if the conservatives win, it was all-out war. And fortunately or fortunately for the society, whatever it is, it panned out, and everything it was just a perfect storm for the liberals, and it all collided really beautifully for them, and they swept the elections. So, yes, Canada takes so much pride in their socialist outlook to things. Oh, free healthcare. Oh, we share with one another. Oh, we are loved by the world, and we are willing to pay whatever price we have to pay to remain loved by the world. Nobody hates us like they hate America. And that's for them. They are willing to pay any price to continue to have that tag on them as the nice, not Americans, not the loud, loquacious neighbors, the US. So I am a fan of saying, you know what, elections have come and they have gone. But I remember one very wonderful conversation that a Ghanaian American was having with white liberals. And he told them one thing. He said, listen, I laugh at you people and the way you conduct your lives. You people want to destroy your society with liberal laws, which is fine. But I want you to realize something. The immigrants you are fighting, bending over backwards to accommodate, they have a plan B. If America is destroyed today, they can enter a plane and go to a location that they can readjust to life quickly to. You don't have it. If you accommodate people and you destroy your own house, these immigrants, he told them, I'm a Ghanaian. If you guys destroy America, I'll pack whatever little I have left and I will go back to Ghana and I will settle down quicker than most of you will. So I will not, like I said, 76% of the population of Canada by race is white. And they have spoken and spoken very loudly that they would prefer the liberals. So our job is to say, okay, what does that mean for me personally? They will tell you I'm a very huge advocate of resettling. I keep telling people 60 is not so far away from me now. I'm planning retirement in Africa, not necessarily Nigeria. And I know that if I do my research, I can easily settle down because of the color of my skin. I can settle down in any part of Africa and live out the rest of my life. Can a white person do that? I don't know. That is their wahala. For me, if they want liberal to rule their country, my job is to say, how do I start planning myself for what I call my retirement rejapa? Because that's where it's heading for. So They have the decision, again, decision has been made. Country has spoken quite loudly. I believe that they are wrong. I believe that electing the liberals is wrong for the growth of this country. And I speak because I want this country to be better, not just for everybody's sake, but for the sake of my children as well, because they are Canadians. So I want this country to be better. And I believe that the way forward is for conservatives to come in, stop the bleeding, clean the wound, and start applying the disinfectant that we need to heal this country. But unfortunately, Canadians want them to continue to massage the wound while the abscess continues to dig deeper. So who am I to say no? The worst that can happen is the leg will get amputated. And when that happens, everybody will find their way. So we watch and see.
Like, who are you to say no? In fact, your statement just took me into the next question I was going to ask, and that is what is the role of this in what is the effect of this election outcome on immigration? Like, that was what I was going on immigration, on because everybody distracted now with tariff wars and everything, that I think it's easy for people to forget that before this tariff and trade war thing happened, there was something going on wrong, at least with most people, towards Trudeau. So maybe when this just settles, the conversation about immigration and the way forward will be charted. So I don't know, Emeka, do you have any contribution to that and other things? Please go ahead.
Thank you. So they've raised, Chibike and Busuyi have raised fantastic points. I want to look at it from a different perspective, and then I'll go on to your question. I think that there's a lot of how do I say this without sounding offensive? I think a lot of people are not in tune with the education they've received, or they have not. Our educational system has become too bastardized in the sense that it now teaches people what to think and not how to think. It would amaze you that a lot of people who advocate for social services do not understand public finance. I can tell you without a shadow of doubt that there's no penny the government can send or spend that it has not taxed from one person or the other. Government doesn't make money. It's not a business entity. So when people sit and advocate for social services, which is fine, I need them to understand, and this is what I think is lacking in our society today. I need them to have the understanding that this money is money the government is taking from other people to redistribute. Okay, having said that, I think that there's a lot of misinformation going around, and unfortunately it is the people doing this misinformation that are crying out the most about it. The CBC is on record to have retracted statements and publications that it made which were found to be false. So that right now you have people who are more interested in using a public platform, a powerful one at that, to advance their idiosyncratic ideas and not necessarily be professional about it. They want to use a powerful platform to advance their personal opinions, which they address as objectivity. What is the effect of this election? It didn't go the way I wanted, but I've accepted it. I think on Edmonton Greatest WhatsApp group, I was the person who mentioned Mark Carney in 2023 and said, watch out for that name. There were things that I saw, that I read, and analysis. I put one and two together, and I kind of had the feeling that this guy would become the next Prime Minister of Canada. So I took the liberty of looking deeply into him. Mark Carney is an extremely well-educated person. He's, by all standards, current standards, if you ignore the plagiarism that he's been accused of that got thrown out, he's smart. We give him that, okay? If you think it's easy to go through Harvard, which for me, I think that, it's become a glorified institution. And my fears in all of this, regardless of his smartness and education, is that we've seen firsthand that ideology or bias makes incredibly smart people look stupid. Now, the word FAT, fat, you can't say that to people anymore. I saw online the other day, now you call them high calorie individuals. So we've replaced a 3-letter word with a 3-word conundrum that has how many letters? People, high calorie people. This is why when you go woke, you kind of tend to go broke, because instead of just saying, the amount of energy it takes me to say FAT is, wow, I'll use 3 times of it to say high calorie individual, whatever that means. I don't know. So I find that, Marconi, if he chooses to ignore his ideologies that he put down very well in his book called Values, I think he will do well. But I fear that he may not be able to do that already because of his plans, because of the plans he put out. Canada's finance rating has dropped from AAA plus to AAA. His plan hasn't become active yet, but because of the amount of borrowing that it's going to do, we're talking about an economy that last year had a $60 billion deficit. Marconi is projected to put on another $130 billion. Let's add to the fact that because of COVID, the Canadian government decided to borrow $400 billion. There is nothing that you can point to standing today and say, we built that with that money. Zero. It was just money that was borrowed on our heads and used to do kalo, if I may put it that way. Just spend it. And people think that because the government is giving them money, this money is coming from somewhere, but this money the government is giving you is watering down the value of the money you have in your bank account, in the sense that your dollar does not go that far anymore. But I see Chibuike smiling because we know this is you're just talking to yourself. These things don't make sense to anybody. That this is just you. All this thing that you said against the liberals for 4 years. What did it lead to? And you sit down and you can't question that, because what is the point of all this analysis we do? All this, we explain and you explain. When you finish going, they do. I will still vote for who I will vote for. Those social services, I want it, but it's just exasperating. And do we stop doing these analyses? Do we stop being critical of systems, or do we continue to be made to look like fools? I don't know. I'll continue to do my thing as it makes sense to me. I'll continue to do my analysis, write what I write. I do a lot of blogging and things like that. I'll continue to do that, put out information as I deem fit. If people listen to it, fantastic. If they don't, well, I did my bit. If we sink into socialism, it won't be just me that will bear the consequences. But Canada needs to, as a matter of urgency, work on productivity. Our productivity is low. The fact that we've grown our GDP by 0.5% in 10 years, oh God. I don't even have words to describe that. When America, with all its problems, is doing 20%. 0.5% for this economy is horrible. And then when I say this, oh, he's an immigrant, how can he be saying this? You cannot put 200 people in a space meant for 10 people. There's nothing you can do to make that happen. That's what Canada is trying to do. We have the second highest landmass on earth, yet we're struggling to build houses because of bureaucracy. That same bureaucracy is what is stopping people from creating jobs. That is what is causing all this government bloated expenditure. And when you point at these things, you are labeled with emotions so that it makes sense to the mob. And what can you do? Yeah, that's my submission.